Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this time for another ULoL Weekly. My name is Joshua Pheqes, joined by Matt Howard, George Crook, and it is brought to you by Band Gaming, Azus, and, of course, Twitch.tv. So, it's postseason, guys. We can pretty much talk about our predictions and everything of the sort. We'll go ahead and go by that first because I actually didn't make predictions because I don't like to show. Well, I said Ohio State University would win, but yeah, I just love them. But you guys actually made legit predictions. We'll actually talk about that first. Matt, how did yours turn out?
Well, in the grand CSL Spring Saltiness competition, I won out over George and Tanya over in Community with best overall picking record. Unfortunately, my peeps out at Columbia College dropped out in the North semis, but I did get 3 of the 4 regional final winners right. So, celebrate myself here a little bit.
George, how'd yours turn out?
Well, in the Spring Saltiness competition, I did lose. I came in 3rd out of the 3, and there may have been a bet to go along with it. No, it was not that. We're not shaving heads. No. But looking at the finals, I went 1 for 4 in predictions. I guessed Toronto would win. Other than that, I dropped the last 3. Very close series, though.
I didn't even think to have Tanya on here. How did she do? For anyone who doesn't know, Tanya is one of our community managers.
She was down 2 to Matt. So I think if Matt's record was 52-4, Tanya's record was 50-6. So we'll give that as an example.
That's fine.
Matt won by 2 games.
So yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, you can go back and watch the one of the old ULoL weeklies, the bracketology edition, where Matt Howard and George Crook made some of their predictions. Too much to the dismay of a lot of people, because that's just how the community is. If you're not rooting for them, then they're pretty salty. But yeah. I mean, that's the fun thing about all this, and I enjoy ULoL Campus Series as much as the next person and the teams that represent them. So no saltiness here. That's also why I don't give my predictions, because that's still asking for a little bit too much as somebody who cast the games. But moving on. So the ULoL Campus Series, it's done. The Big Ten, it's done, and I say it's done as in they're in the postseason. We know who won their respective regionals. We know who won the Big Ten. Let's go and start with the Big Ten because it's kind of the odd man out of the region. There's not a real region to the Big Ten, kind of, the Midwest. But the Big Ten, Maryland, they took that one. They're going to advance on to the postseason and guarantee themselves a spot. University of Illinois, which is actually represented by Urbana-Champaign, they are going to the wild card. But there is a little bit leading up to that we haven't quite touched on because, quite frankly, there's still not extraordinary amount of information for the Big Ten. But we did have Maryland taking out Rutgers and OSU to get to the finals, and then Illinois taking out Minnesota and Purdue to face them in the finals as well. Matt, what do you think of Maryland winning, going on to the finals, and Illinois' spot in the wild card, like as far as their strength, where they stand up right now?
Well, I mean, I think that the Big Ten showed us some good things this year. I think that it proved that it was competitive, especially when Michigan lost out in the playoffs. I think that was really surprising for a lot of people. I see you, Pheqes. I see you, man, back there. All right. I think what that does prove, it proves that there's an ecosystem there that can be built to build a lot of high-level competition. I think that in terms of the larger collegiate scene, that may still be about a year or two off, though. I think Illinois right now looks like the least convincing of the wild card teams. And I don't know, Maryland didn't actually play Michigan, right? It was Ohio State that beat them. So we haven't seen Maryland play against that kind of cream of the top team, the team that's a real contender for the ULoL Campus Series. So this will kind of be their trial by fire, their crucible. So they've looked really good in Big Ten play, but the question is how well they do once they have to deal with the big boys, right? People who beat long-standing old guard members of the collegiate scene. So honestly, jury's out for me right now. But I'm excited for the future. I'm not sure where I'm at on the present.
And George, what about you?
I think the whole Big Ten Network series, it was a phenomenal inaugural season with Riot partnering with one of the Power 5 conferences in the NCAA. And I really hope it starts spreading to like the SEC, ACC, other conferences with networks. But as for the ecosystem itself, Maryland, they just show dominance. I agree with Matt in the fact that they didn't play Michigan, so you really don't know how that matchup would have gone, because I think it was pretty clear that Maryland and Michigan were the two best teams in Big Ten, just from the little statistics that we had. And so seeing how Maryland will stack up against teams that have already qualified, such as Toronto, Texas A&M, Maryville, it'll be interesting to see that in Los Angeles. Whereas for Illinois, once again agreeing with Matt, just the way Maryland handled Illinois and the caliber of teams Illinois will have to face in the wild card, like your UBCs and your RMUs, it'll be a tough road for Illinois, most definitely.
Yeah. And let's all keep in mind here, if anyone doesn't know yet, they haven't quite released the wild card placements yet, so we don't know who's going to be facing who at the moment, or how anything's going to be stacking up. Although I think the first round is a round robin, so eventually I think we're going to see everybody versus everybody. But yeah, no, I agree with everyone. And if anyone who's been paying attention to these, and I sure as hell hope you have been, I am an Ohio State University fan, which is why you saw me cheer whenever Michigan got knocked out. And I have nothing against Michigan. I absolutely love the players that I interact with on there. Sleepy Tony, who's one dig now, he's actually a really cool dude. No offense to anyone on Michigan. I'm just an Ohio State University fan. But don't worry, I lost too, and it happens. But as far, yeah, like you said, or like you both said, going into the wild card, Illinois, they have a lot to prove. There's been a lot of coverage, especially from us for the North. Toronto, obviously they dominating the East. They showed what Carnegie Mellon can do whenever they're under pressure. Carnegie Mellon, I thought was probably going to go into that as well, the same position as Illinois. We're going to see how that one goes. We have to talk about that one later when we get into the East Conference, East Regional. But yeah, I was with you guys. Illinois, they have a lot to prove. Maryland, they have a lot to prove as well. The Big Ten, it's a really cool idea, and I'm glad I'm with George. I hope they expand on the idea later on. But at the moment, yeah, they seem like they have a little bit left to show, to see if they can actually be dominant. But moving on from there, let's go to the South region now, where Texas A&M actually won. They did scoot by on through the finals. Matt, how do you feel that one's going to go in the wild card?
All right. Well, I mean, so right now, again, looking back at this, right, of course, our winners for each of these regions and for the Big Ten goes into the big dance, right, in the big bracket. And then our wild card is going to be of course, all of our regional and Big Ten runners up, right? So Illinois is going to play in a conference with, or not a conference, a small tournament with all of those regional runners up. Our first one, as you mentioned, Pheqes, is North Carolina State University. I think I may have given it a little southern twang, gentlemen. But let's talk frankly about NC State. I thought they played a hard-fought series against Texas A&M. They went all 5 games, ended up losing 3 games to 2 in that 5-game series. And let's be honest, I think that North Carolina State showed us a lot of that sort of those intangibles. I think they showed poison moxie, particularly when they got behind early. Those games were very hard fought. Once you got sort of the middle part of the game, it looked like North Carolina State was going to come back a lot of times. And if they got ahead early, it was straight up dominations. I mean, Shadow Visions playing in the mid lane is a monster. That man, somebody needs to contain that man, because otherwise this wild card slate is going to get really messy really fast. But I think that if they want to progress further, if they want to make it to that next level, they have to show better drafting than they did against Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M fundamentally outplayed them in the draft, gave them just about everything they wanted in game 1, and then said, all right, well, now we'll take bits of that away, show you some contingency plans, take some things from you, and it looked like it really hurt them in the long run.
Yeah, and I actually apologize. I forgot to mention that it was North Carolina State University. Yeah, it was NCSU that did go onto the wild card. Thank you for covering me on that one, Matt. George, what are your feelings on that?
Honestly, the way NC State played in the South Finals, I personally put them down a little bit early, just comparing them to other teams in the South. But once they got knocked out, NC State started showing up in playoffs. Like Matt said, the games NC State won, they won dominantly. The 2 games NC State won, they had a team KDA of, Texas A&M's KDA was 437-4 in the 2 games they lost to NC State. And games 2 and 3, NC State had the chance to win. They had it for about half of the game, if not the majority of the game. And if they can keep that consistency up, and as Matt said, work in draft, Johnny in 2017 LoL and Hani, the bot lane for NC State, is one of the scariest bot lanes in the South. And if they can transition that into schools against like Illinois, like Carnegie Mellon, teams that are on their level right now, if they can get past them, up their game in draft phase, they'll be able to compete with some of the higher schools like, RMU's there, UBC's there. So I could see NC State being one of the 4 to get, or one of the 3 to get out of wild cards.
No, I definitely agree with you. And I even tweeted out saying that Johnny and Hani are probably one of the best bot lanes in all of Collegiate. They are pretty amazing. Hani, he might be one of the best supports I've seen in a long time as far as Collegiate goes. And I think he has I will say a really bright future for himself if he
you
keeps
can't give him Bard. You actually just can't.
No, he forces a ban out. That's the thing is when you're a support, you have to force a ban like that. That is a really huge hindrance to your strategy. And his bar is amazing. I love it when his bar goes through because it's amazing just what he can do. His tempered fates are amazing, like on point almost all the time. I don't know. And Cosmic Binding is just on point. The guy's amazing. And no offense to Johnny, none whatsoever. It's a duo down there, so they both make up one of the best bot lanes in my opinion of the Collegiate Series, ULoL Campus Series. But Hani, I feel like he's the bright star down there for sure. And
another thing, going off of that, in the meta that we're currently in, it's support plays a critical role. Like that's just the way it is. Supports control the tempo of the game with just how they roam or how they put pressure on the lane. And Hani excels at that. If he can transition that and they play in the bot lane, and as Matt was saying with Shadow Visions in the mid lane, he's been hard to control. If NC State gets that snowball early and they get the early lead, it's going to be hard to come back for any team that they play.
But let's also curb our enthusiasm a little bit, because I think a big part of their drafting issues did come around that bot lane. I think when Bard was off the table, and I think when Ashe was off the table for Johnny, it proved problematic. I don't think he had the same sort of impact playing on Ezreal. I think he looked, and don't roast me for this, but I think his champ pool may have looked a little bit shallow on that end, and that worries me moving forward. So if teams decide that they're going to ban Ashe or pick Ashe away on blue side, or maybe force them to take something else first pick on red, when they're on blue side, it's going to make things a little messy for them unless they can kind of pick their game up there a little bit. So that's kind of what I'm going to be watching with that bot lane dynamic, because again, love Hani, the man is a hero. And let's be real, in that game one, Johnny dominated on Ashe.
Yeah.
But I think overall it was you got to see the highs and the lows, and I think they're going to have to bring those lows up some if they want to really make a push here.
Most definitely.
I mean, and then the champion pool is just one of the things. Like Hani, I haven't really seen him be banned out, and of course you do ban out his Bard, but I mean he falls back on so many other champions. I've seen a great thresh from him and Nami. It's been no problem for him. Yeah, Johnny, a little bit of a different issue. Shadow Vision is also a great mid laner too. Let's not forget him. And the one thing that really stands out for me for this team is that we all know where Texas A&M, Toronto, Carnegie Mellon, Maryville, Robert Morris University. Who else am I missing? I'm missing.
No, it's not Carnegie Mellon. It's Simon Fraser.
Yeah, Simon Fraser. Well, them too, actually. We'll talk about them too. And University of British Columbia. My point is, we knew where all of them were last year. North Carolina State University, they weren't really on the map, and they came out second in their region this year. So
you look at Texas A&M. They've been a perennial powerhouse in the South.
Yeah, they were CSL champions like a long time ago, like 3-4 years ago, somewhere around there. Maybe 5 at this point. But yeah, my point is that North Carolina State, they weren't on the map last year. They were underneath everyone else, and now again they are second in their region, which wasn't filled with an extraordinary amount of great teams, but there still were great teams. Georgia Tech, Georgia State, Texas A&M, obviously a lot of Texas teams.
Yeah, George Mason make their run.
Yeah, George Mason. George Mason. Yeah, and of course Texas Tech, also a great team too. Yeah, North Carolina State, they showed up this year, and that just shows that they actually put dedication and time into their program, which means I feel like during this off time, going into the wild card, they're going to do the exact same. And I think they're going to really surprise whoever they go against, whether it be Robert Morris or University of British Columbia. I think it's going to be, I think they're going to be sleeper power for sure. But let's go ahead and move on to the next group. That would be the East, which that was an exciting one. That was University of British Columbia versus
No.
That was the
Toronto.
West. That was the West. Toronto was Carnegie Mellon. I got my maps confused. Sorry, with the Reaper sides on that confused. That was Toronto versus Carnegie Mellon. So yeah, actually not. That wasn't as exciting as Simon Fraser, which, by the way, I think I just pronounced that right. Wasn't exciting as Simon Fraser, but Toronto versus Carnegie Mellon. Toronto, they're just a really good team, and Carnegie Mellon, they're in the wild card now. Matt, where do you place them as far as their power goes?
Well, I think first of all, the East Finals was probably the one final that went the way people thought it was going to. I think that was kind of one of the things that was interesting, was that the East actually proved to be one of the more predictable regions here. But also, I mean, Carnegie Mellon, looking forward, they got a lot of star power on their team, right? They got some individual talent in those solo lanes, I think, but they really... Man, they got roughed up by Toronto. I mean, let's be honest, in games 3 and 4. The series went 4 games out of 5, and Toronto took the series 3-1. They dropped game 2. But I think overall, the boys out of Toronto just showed that there are cracks in this lineup, and I think that it's really going to be a matter of how well they recover from that moving forward. Of course, you talk about guys like Mega Zero and Yusui. They've played a lot of League. They know what it's about, and I'm sure that they're trying to make sure that team isn't going to tilt off the face of the earth here or anything. But if they want to make a wild card run, they're really going to have to get together and show a lot more than they did in those East Regional Finals. because there are some big boys waiting for him out here in wild card. You know, that RMU and UBC are not messing around. You know, you got to bring your A game against those guys. So I think they're really kind of a wild card within a wild card here, just because. You know, it was a rough series for them, and I think that they're better than they played. But who knows whether they're going to hit that point.
Well,
you know?
I mean, they also had one of the most feared teams in Collegiate Series, University of Toronto. I mean, we've heard Robert Morris University talk about them. A few other teams talk about them too. I mean, UOT, they were expected to win pretty much all of this from a few respected voices in the community. But yeah, Carnegie Mellon, yeah, they had a very tall order. It just didn't pan out for them. They did take one game off of them though, so that did show that they had some promise. George, what is your opinion on that?
First of all, congratulations to Toronto for breaking the number 1 seed curse. They were the only number 1 seed to lock in a spot in Los Angeles at the college championships, with UTSA falling out before South finals and the other 2 number 1 seeds falling out in their respective regional finals. But going over to Carnegie Mellon, I was doing I had an article released a couple days before the finals matches, and in it I had really zoned in when talking about the East that this is one of the most passive teams in Carnegie Mellon going up against one of the bloodiest teams in Toronto. Carnegie Mellon was ranking lowest out of the 8 finalists in kills and assists, and it really did show. If they didn't get Yasui and mid lane rolling, it was really hard for Carnegie Mellon to have any impact across the map. Yasui, I just remember one game, Yasui had all the kills on Carnegie Mellon, and Toronto was just able to apply pressure all across the map and get away from Yasui. This is a very mid-centric team, and as Matt said, there's a lot of star power, but you have to get those stars shining. If they just stay dull, like Carnegie Mellon, it'll be a tough matchup for them. Because after we saw what NC State did, as we just mentioned, and Robert Morris in British Columbia, the 2-time defending champion and one of the most renowned collegiate esports programs in North America, you're going to be up against those. And you're going to be fighting for NC State with that 3rd spot most likely, and Illinois will try and make a scratch. But again, like Matt hit it right, hit the nail on the head. They're a better team than what they showed against Toronto. Toronto, one of the most revered teams in college esports, in college League of Legends, and they showed that. They showed why the East was supposed to go the way it was. So for Carnegie Mellon, I believe they can put in a lot of work and they can execute when it comes to wild card. It just takes more than a 1v9 mid lane carry, and I believe that they can do that.
Yeah, and that's essentially what that whole game was. And I remember I was actually one of the duos to cast that. Yeah, Yasui, he played out of his mind. He was trying so hard, but Mega Zero, he got camped a lot. He got hurt. They really shut down Mega Zero, and that was on Yummy Bananas. Yummy Bananas was just a great jungler, and he just got unleashed on Elise Sin as well. And I think that was game number 3, I believe, or 4. I don't remember which one exactly, but it doesn't matter because if you go back and watch and you see Yummy Bananas lock in Lee Sin, watch that game and learn because that guy was amazing. It was insane watching him play. But yeah, I agree. Carnegie Mellon, they have some polishing to do if they want to. I say approach obviously Robert Morris University and University of British Columbia. They're on a great level. We know that. If they want to even try to approach that, they definitely have some polishing to do, and they have to get on the same level as at least North Carolina State University, because I believe if Carnegie Mellon took on NCSU, I'm pretty sure NCSU would win that one. So far, as the way that things were turned out in the finals of the ULoL Campus Series. Now Illinois, a little bit different story. Again, Illinois there's so little information on the Big Ten. All we saw was what has been played so far, and and that's good. Still good for Illinois because that means that it's harder for people to study them. But at the same time, they didn't have an extraordinary stiff competition. They had 2 divisions, and they pretty much just played each other all season for that. I mean,
correct.
It's a lot different than the ULoL Campus Series. The Big Ten Series is. And Illinois, I'm actually really anxious to see how Illinois goes up, pairs, especially if they go against Carnegie Mellon. that one's going to be an interesting one because I really don't know who's going to win that one at all. But moving on from that region, did Matt, do you have something to say about?
I was just gonna say that that's a heck of a feeling as a team as well when you're sitting there and everybody's kind of writing you off or saying they're on the outside looking in, they're a dark horse at best. I mean, you can sit there and say, okay, we can do whatever the heck we want, and if it works, then that's awesome for us. Let's go and bring that bring that wild card attitude, and really come in and try to throw everything out of whack, like it's one of those things that's really exciting to look for in these sorts of really desperate tournaments, right? Because these are the teams that are fighting. There's only 3 spots in that grand final ULoL bracket waiting, and there's 5 teams, so it's going to be a bloodbath. And sometimes the guy you're not keeping your eye on gets a few good shots in and maybe surprises some people. So
Yeah, very much so. And I would never write them off completely. Obviously, they clearly have work to do though, and you don't need my opinion to. No one needs my opinion if they just go back and watch it. No one needs my opinion to judge that. And it's I'm not casting their games anymore. I can really say whatever I want. It's very liberating. And then again, nothing against Carnegie Mellon. Like Yusui, if he can shine brighter than everyone else on the field, then great. Carnegie Mellon use that, but everyone else they need to help shine with him. Let's move on from that one. Going over now to the West, where I can talk about University of British Columbia versus Simon Fraser. That was
what
a cluster.
Series.
That was an amazing series. It was
so good.
That was so good. Yeah. Where do we start? So obviously, University of British Columbia. They were going in as favorites. They are the past 2-time
defending champs.
Defending champions. Yeah, ULoL Campus Series champions. No one thought that they would lose that, but Simon Fraser. I'm gonna give a shout out once again to Butt Raider. That's his name, and I'm not just shouting it out so I can say it. That guy, I don't know what he told them or how he trains them, but Simon Fraser. If you guys haven't watched those games, the spoiler alert, the 2 of those games go past 45 minutes.
Correct.
It's an amazing to see a team like Simon Fraser just be so disciplined to not overstep their bounds because they were on the ropes the entire game, and then they still won. Matt, let's go ahead and get your opinion on this one because there's a lot to talk about with this series.
Yeah, sure. This is like some 1990s Eagles football type of stuff. This is just like good fundamental defense, right? Like the whole game through. And I mean, it played. You guys can stop giving me those looks. You guys are. I mean, I think Pheqes is older than me, but George, you need to go back and watch some tape.
I remember the Eagles.
I mean, I'm only 18.
I'm 29. I remember them.
Anyway.
I mean, I know who the Eagles are.
All right, like I think Simon Fraser came in here. They had the underdog mentality, but they knew that I had picked them to win the Battle of Vancouver and take the West. So they rallied, and what they did, right? The crazy thing is, they won 3 straight to win this series, but they lost the first game, and they almost got perfect games. They were one dragon take away from getting completely just like swept off the table. I don't know if that one dragon was all they needed or something. They said, yes, Dragon Sama, we will fight for you or something. I don't know what it was, but like that Earth Drake, it was like they took objectives faster for the rest of the series. And that was just nuts. I mean, we had, what was it?
To be fair, that's how the Earth Drake works.
Yeah, that's why it's a joke, Pheqes. That's why it's a joke, but thanks. And then let's also talk. I mean, we had the game that was literally just League of Minion control. I think it was game 3.
God.
With 7 structures being taken in SFU's favor by minions. They like. I don't think anybody come close to disassembling UBC like that in a very long time. But I think that the important thing to think about moving forward, because we are going to touch a little bit on kind of the grand final bracket I think here, is that what this does show is UBC moving into the wild, right? It shows that, number one, that SFU has extraordinary mental discipline and fortitude, that it's going to do them many favors moving forward into the big boy bracket. In the wild card bracket, UBC as well as Simon Fraser played, when you get into situations like that where you just can't crack open an enemy team's base, it does say that, like, there's some tightening up that needs to happen, some tuning up in sort of your mid to late game shot calling, as far as, okay, it's trying to outmaneuver your opponent and open up some objectives on the map. So I think it says a lot about both teams, but I think, man, go watch that series, please. Just go watch it if you haven't.
The series was amazing, and that actually makes me wonder, like, what if it wasn't UBC that played that game? It was I don't know, we'll say Maryville that played that game. Would that have been the same result? Because UBC, they're the defending 2-time champions. Like, they stomped them for pretty much the entire game, but it was like a great wrestling story, is what it was, where the good guy comes back. That's exactly what it was. It's like Bret Hart. We'll talk about the 90s more. Well, it's like Bret Hart coming back after getting stomped. I don't know. We'll say by Yokozuna. We'll go WrestleMania 10 on this one. And
don't worry, George. You'll understand all of this in like 5 years when you become a hipster and get into retro.
You'll understand this April 8th, because I'm gonna nonstop time. WrestleMania is this Sunday, which means it's a week away from.
Well, this is League of Legends, not WrestleMania.
It's all the same to me, trust me. But anyway, okay, so yeah, Matt's right. Go watch that game. It's amazing. George, what's your take on this?
All right, y'all are throwing out y'all's favorite sports moments, histories about defense. I'm bringing it back to the 21st century.
I'm glad you called WrestleMania sport, by the way. Thank you.
Sport, whatever. Look at the Nick Saban defense at Alabama, minus a kid named Deshaun Watson. If you want to talk about defense, you look at Alabama football's defense. Every game except Clemson. That's good defense. That's what Simon Fraser exerted right there. Hey, it's true. It's won championships. It's called a dynasty. Roll Tide. But going back into the series, Simon Fraser, good God. I don't see how you can withstand a 49-minute game just to go even longer into a 58-minute game. Have your minions take 7 turrets, 1 inhibitor, opening up all 3 inhibitors, because the 7 turrets the minions took were the tier 2s and the inhibitors in every lane and 1 Nexus turret after taking the inhibitor in bot lane. For UBC, it's now you have to think, how will they be able to close out games? In the wild card, yes, they're coming in as a favorite, but it's also prepping them for Los Angeles. How will they fare against Robert Morris, who can close these games out, who knows how to be so versatile in their game that they can win without having just like minions go around, or they know sieging better, because UBC got stood up in a siege in bot lane and then in top lane. That's what allowed the minions to go through. But as for Simon Fraser and going into Los Angeles, can they do that again? Or will we see a team that just goes on an offensive tear like what happened in Game 4 of the Western Finals? Because in the first 3 games, they never had a gold lead. They lost. They were down in gold all the first 3 games. They barely had more objectives, if not they tied in objectives. And as Matt was saying, they were almost perfect games in Game 1. So what Simon Fraser will we see? Will we see that team that just lays down against a dominant team? Will we see a team that has the mental fortitude of just some of the greatest League of Legends we've ever seen at a collegiate level? Or will we see a team that comes out and dominates? Now, as for British Columbia, it's still British Columbia, After 3rd time's a charm for Simon Fraser, British Columbia finally falls after 3 years. But, yeah, it's without Bob Shin. Look at UBC star talent, though. They're still a ridiculous roster. They're still a ridiculous team who puts up ridiculous numbers. Yeah, it's 1 best of 5, but let's see how they bounce back. Because I'm very, very intrigued about how the UBC RMU series and the wild card will go. And I'm ready to see how UBC stands up to more teams like this. So I think UBC just close out the game. Work on a draft that's a better siege comp if you want to try and run that. If not, go back and play your old style and just dominate through the game. Bring those games that are, sub 30 minutes like they're used to. But we'll see. For me, Simon Fraser, which team will show up in Los Angeles? For UBC, just keep dominating.
Let's point out in game number 4 where they came back and actually pretty much stomped UBC. UBC was actually using a replacement jungler in Kazi Hana.
That's true.
Kazahana. So it wasn't the exact, but I mean, that really doesn't excuse game number 1. I don't know what happened between game number 1, which actually, nothing really happened. It's just that they didn't know how to turtle in game number 1 because they got stomped in 2 and 3-2 until it got to like 40 minutes. So
a 49-minute game and a 58-minute game.
Yeah.
Respective.
Took some inspiration from Yi Sun Shin, put wooden boards on top of the Simon Fraser ship, and turtled themselves to a victory.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, that's the thing. Like, let's go. I want to go back to the turrets real quick because I thought when I was casting that game, I was thinking, well, I mean, that's great. The waves pushing. That's lucky. It's in their advantage. But I said lucky to myself about 3 times, and then about the 4th time, I was like, these guys are doing this on purpose.
Yeah.
Like, they got to have some sort of strategy going into this because you don't just let that happen at 7 times and not have a strategy to have that happen. Like, that's something you plan at that point in the game.
That's where my confusion lay. Like,
yeah,
just thinking UBC had a chance to respond. Like, while their siege was in a stale, you could have had the Rumble go top, clear that minion wave, because it's Rumble, his AoE flame spitter, that can clear a minion wave really fast. And you had multiple opportunities, and I saw chances where Rumble was starting to back, but then the new minion wave came in, and they're like, all right, we got it this time. So it's the juggling in communication and someone needing to take leadership to say, all right, go back now, and then you can just walk back to lane, and we'll still hold this stalemate of a siege. Because if you can just push the wave back, and now you have 2 waves pressuring down. You have 2 lanes that are being pressured, and they're both top and bot lane. You could leave mid in kind of just a neutral state, or maybe just a slow push either way. But you can't let that 3 waves of minions crash, or else you saw what happened.
Yeah, exactly. Go on.
I think a lot of that, I know we want to move along a little bit, but just to add a last point is that I think a lot of that comes down to your mentality in game, right? I think there's a lot of pressure on the UBC Esports Association to consistently produce regional final victories. And I think that especially after you almost perfect game 1, to come out game 2 and suddenly be really, really just having a hard time, cracking open your opponent's base, it can be really frustrating. It can force you to do it can force you into bad decisions, right? That frustration is straight out of Sun Tzu's Art of War, right? You want to wear your opponent down mentally and make him, make mistakes on his own. And I think that the wave control was probably a byproduct of that at that point, right? To almost perfect game a team and then have them turtle on you the entire game and then beat you. I mean, I think I'd be mentally fractured. I'd be crushed. But, I'm soft as crab that you eat at a dinner table. So,
so I mean, I think we can all kind of agree. UBC, they still have a great chance in the wild card, correct?
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. I know go on.
Is certain that was the rationale behind my bracket picks, and many of them played out. But I just like to, make George hate his life a little more. But I mean, nothing is certain in this sort of thing. And I mean, let's say NC State fixes their draft issues and really comes to play, and UBC has an off game. Who knows what this looks like? But I think right now they're definitely one of the favorites to go through.
Yes.
Yeah, we can always play with what ifs, but we pretty much just can only go on what we've seen so far. And yeah, UBC again, they're still a great team. And I know we harped a lot. I mean, we're talking about the finals in general, and going into the postseason. We already know that Simon Fraser is going to be there, but we harped a lot on them because the series is incredible. I'm going to say it once again, if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. It's crazy.
Games 2 and 3 especially. Those are the games that we mainly focused on with the whole defensive turtle. Game 3 was where the minions took all the structures. Game 2 was just a showing of mental fortitude.
Yeah,
and to bounce back in between those 2 games, Simon Fraser, ridiculous to be able to do that.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. But again, I'm not going to take anything away from UBC. They did stomp that entire game.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
They just, again, like you mentioned, if they had that ability to close out, it may be a different story right now. We would talk about Simon Fraser being in the wild card, but we're not. UBC is. And with that, we're actually going to go ahead and move on to the North. That was probably the most hyped one. No, it's not probably. It was the most hyped match in the entire series. From day one, we were even talking about it because I mean, for the reason. I mean, Maryville, they were last year's CSL champions. They hadn't been defeated. They finally dropped a game to Robert Morris, and
Grand Valley.
What's
in
up?
the Grand Valley State in the quarters.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Or no, not Mary.
No.
That was
Robert Morris.
That was it. Yeah, Robert Morris took on Grand Valley State.
Maryville's first loss came to Robert Morris.
Yeah, Robert Morris in the finals. Yeah, Grand Valley State was the one that actually gave Robert Morris, I believe, their first loss. So still,
that was just of the season, though.
Yeah,
But
of the
I
season.
think
Of the
Robert
season.
Morris-
Yeah, we're talking about the season. And that is a thing to talk about too. I mean, that's of the season. Of course, last year was a different story. Robert Morris got to the ULoL Campus Series. Maryville didn't. So there's a lot of questioning about, is Maryville a legit team? Because they went through the CSL brackets, and people kind of dogged on a little bit, saying the teams aren't as good as they were in the as they are in the ULoL Campus Series. And Maryville, to their credit, they came back and still went all the way undefeated until the finals, where they finally dropped a game to Robert Morris, but they still won. So regardless, they narrowly missed out on their opportunity at the ULoL Campus Series last year. They got it this year and proved they're still one of the best. So going into that wild card, Matt, how do you feel Robert Morris ranks up?
Man, geez, it was one of those things that even though I predicted it happening, I almost didn't want to have happen, because it's hard, right? It's hard making these predictions because you become very conscious, especially after you get tweeted at a whole bunch. But you become very conscious that for a lot of players and coaches, this is their life right now, right? And to watch Robert Morris go down in those finals, it was an intriguing change of the guard, especially when you see UBC dropping opposite them in the bracket in the West, because those were the grand finalists for the ULoL Campus Series and for the what was it?
CSL.
NACC, I think, the year before. Right?
Last year was the ULoL Campus Series. The year before that was the NACC. They started the ULoL Campus Series last year.
Right. Yep. So I mean, those were your back-to-back number 1 and 2 in sort of the overall collegiate game, and both dropping out. I think this was, again, a tremendous 5-game series to watch. You got to see a lot on display from both teams. Robert Morris showed a lot of mental fortitude rallying after a rough start to the series. And I think that one of the things that I've been noticing with them is that, the Rumble pick on West Coast carry has become really, really important and kind of central to how they play the game. And I think what Maryville did over the course of the series was try to find answers for that, and they found enough answers. Notably in Game 5, they were like, all right, fine, we're just going to play Aurelia and split push the whole game and make you deal with that forever and ever. And just try to make West Coast carry maybe less uncomfortable, pull him out of those team fight situations where Rumble is so deadly, and really push the envelope on RMU a little bit there. I think that again, losing Shady, we call it a loss, but the guy went pro, so I mean, there's only so much you can say about that, but I think that probably hurt team cohesion a little bit. I think Buckzak had a really incredible showing against Columbia College in the semis to show that they do still have power down there in that bot lane. But yeah, definitely, I think that we have to question a little bit of their level of cohesion, and we have to question how pivotal Rumble has become for them moving forward. Do I think this is a team that makes it a wild card? Absolutely. But, I think it's one of those things that, again, you have to kind of look at and say, man, it was a heck of a series. This is something that would be really fun to see again. But ultimately, I think it's rough for RMU that they lost. But I think they remain a favorite to make it out wild card.
Yeah, and let's not forget. So they lost. They did lose Shady, which again, congratulations to him. So
made his debut last weekend.
Yeah. They moved Evan, who was the ADC, to support. So And shout out to him. I thought he actually did a pretty damn good job as support, and that's actually one of the really really cool things about bot lane is that how you should play as support and how support should play as an ADC. Now mechanics are a little bit different. It's at least in my experience, and of course I'm not competitive, but it is easier if you're an ADC main going to support because you don't have to CS and it's just like a load of pressure off of you, but you have other pressures put on you. But I mean, regardless, Evan did a great job, I thought. So that shows that he can at least be versatile in that bot lane and doing what he can to make Robert Morris University succeed where it needs to. And I'm actually excited to see them in the wild card. George, what are your opinions?
Right off the bat, going back to Shady. Robert Morris losing Shady in playoffs. While it hurts Robert Morris, I mean, it's a positive for Shady. It still hurts Robert Morris. Evan being able to step up in the support role, show what he can do against Columbia College. Bucksack coming in, incredible performances. And going up against a Maryville team that was undefeated and that was known for not losing games, had the fastest game time in playoffs, just over 26 minutes. Robert Morris, I'm looking at, they're going to get through wild card. Simple as that. And after wild card, it's about a month and a half break. And you give Robert Morris that much time with the amount of importance and just drive they put into their League of Legends team. I want RMU versus Maryville in the college championship finals just so we can see an RMU team that's given Evan time, given Bucksack time to work as that bot lane duo. Month and a half period, you're going to see a completely different RMU, and you could potentially see, even a 3-1. Because in game 1, it was really close. They gave Maryville a scare, kind of similar to what Kansas did in game 2 against Maryville. Game 2 of that series, Maryville they were Maryville, let's be honest. It was just a right hook to the jaw. But then Robert Morris stepped up, game 3, and they said, you can hit us, we're about to hit you harder. They beat Maryville not only in just dominant fashion, but 6 minutes faster than Maryville beat them in the previous game. And that right there just showed me the potential RMU has. They shut down Prototype. Prototype was useless in games 3, 4, and partially 5 because 5 wasn't on Prototype to win. And I'll get to that in a minute. But if RMU can just show that against a team like Maryville, who's touted to be, top 3 college teams in just North America, I'm excited to see RMU for wildcard and Los Angeles. Now you look at game 4, similar style to game 1, very articulate gameplay, and it came down to a team fight. I'd recommend watching games 1, 4, and 5, but whenever you're watching 5, zone in at about, I think it was 32 minutes. About 32 minutes in, as Matt was saying, get West Coast carry away from the team on that rumble. If you do that, that's your opening to strike on RMU. What happened? The 4 members of Maryville drew 4 members of Robert Morris to Baron Pit while West Coast carry was being occupied by an Irelia in bot lane. And that one fight decided the whole series. Irelia came away with only 38 health remaining in a 1v1 tower dive against the Rumble. She ended up being able to lifesteal minions with her Blade of the Ruined King, then just getting the turrets because Maryville was able to distract Robert Morris to a time and end up getting a couple kills while Robert Morris did get a couple kills on Bucksack. It was too late. That gave Irelia the split push capabilities, and that's how they won. But that just shows, one, Maryville's mortal. They're not immortal anymore. We can't call them the undefeated gods. KU scared them. Robert Morris showed it's true. And with that being said, I'm ready to see Maryville have that 2 months because, they get an extra, they don't have to go through wildcards. So they get 2 months of practice. I want the RMU Maryville match so bad just to see the growth of these two teams over the 2 months because I think these teams can just stack up to, some of the NACS teams or bottom tier LCS teams just because of the amount of talent around these two teams. So Robert Morris, I can see them just making championships again. This is such a dominant team. And as I've been preaching, I'm going to drive it to the ground the whole month and a half of practice. That means a lot. The way Robert Morris practices, the facilities they have, and the resources they have for practices, it's going to be just an incredible series if we can see Maryville and Robert Morris play.
And if I could just make one counterpoint, though, right? We say they have so much around them, and somebody put Kurt Melcher in an esports Hall of Fame somewhere. I don't, like the man has done great work. He's put together a great, sort of institution, and it's built on the hard work of that whole infrastructure. But if I were to point to one thing that maybe we want to take a look at as a potential weak spot for them, which was highlighted in shameless CSL plug, George's stats article, it is in the objectives against category. This was the glaring thing that I picked on basically when I decided going into this that I thought Maryville could win it. Is that Maryville had given up 7 objectives in the playoffs.
Correct.
Robert Morris had given up 22. Now they had a bumpier road getting there, but if they can't kind of shore up some of that ultimately is going to come down to sort of how crisp your rotations are and how proactive you're being in the game, right? Because you want to be a step ahead of your opponents, so you're getting objectives for free as opposed to trading, right? So the high number of the height, wouldn't say it's outright high, because NC State has given up 42 in playoffs, not counting finals. The higher number of objectives against is telling me that RMU still has a little bit of tweaking to do when it comes to beating their opponents to the punch a little bit in the back.
To help with verification of your point, Robert Morris did give up 47 objectives in that one final series in the best of 5, which is just more than doubling the amount they had coming in, and that's still one of the highest caliber teams. And they'll still have to go up potentially against UBC. In the wild card, if in the group stage format, since it's a round robin, they will play UBC. So exactly like you're saying, the objectives against category, that could mean a lot, especially to a team like Simon Fraser, who, had 13 objectives taken in one of their wins, 14 in another, with objectives being Barons, Dragons, and Turrets. That whenever we say objectives, that's what we are. And it's all explained in the article if you'd like to go read that. But Matt's right. It's the objectives against for Robert Morris could be a weakness. And West Coast carry, get him off of Rumble, or if you give him Rumble, get him away from the team fight. That could also be the weakness.
Yeah, and I know we've been talking a lot about the wild card. We actually haven't explained it as well as we should have. So yeah, there are 3 rounds to the wild card. The first one is a round robin, and the 4 of the 5 teams advance from there. Obviously, that 5th one is out of the tournament, and they'll just better luck next year on that one. And that's when it gets really interesting because 2 teams will be placed against each other, and I actually forget how it is. I think it's randomized. It's randomized. I didn't know if it was by seed or randomized. Okay. If it's randomized, then that's where it's going to get really interesting. Is round number 2 after the first round of the round robin, where the 5 teams that we've been talking about, UBC, Robert Morris University, Carnegie Mellon, Illinois, and NCSU. That one, the round robin, that everyone's going to face each other. That's actually going to be really exciting, I think, for everybody, because we're going to talk about all these that we're talking about right now, these matchups. But round number 2, that's where it gets interesting, because the 4 remaining teams will be 2v2 each other, so they'll be in separate brackets there. That one's that mean they're going to eliminate 2 other players from there. That one's going to be, or 2 other teams. That one's going to be interesting. They go into round 3, and
the 2 losers will play each other.
The 2 losers, yeah, because the 2 winners of round number 2 will go on to
they secure spots 6 and 7.
Thank you, very much so. And then the winner of the best of the of round 3 will go on and secure the 8th round. Yeah, the 8th one. So round 1, this is pretty much what we've been talking about this entire time, is just round 1, because round 2 and 3, especially if it's randomized, and that's a little bit too much to think about.
Not for me.
Hold on. I want to say the remaining teams are actually seeded by their record into round number 2, but I think that's their record from the best.
The wild card.
The wild card, yeah. The round robin, their record goes from there, as affects how they're seeded into round number 2. So regardless of how that turns out, round number 1 is what we've been talking about this entire time, the round robin. That one's going to be the most exciting, because we can see everyone versus everyone at some point. And it's really difficult to tell who's going to be that first elimination, but for sure, I think we're all in consensus It's not going to be Robert Morris University. It is not going to be University of British Columbia. My personal opinion, it's not going to be North Carolina State either. I think they're going to go on. Now, again, Carnegie Mellon, Illinois, could be a toss-up in that one as far as I'm concerned, but that's only because I haven't seen as much Illinois as I would like to. Just want to round out all those thoughts before we move on to the next topic. Matt, who do you got in the round robin? We'll just go ahead and solidify it right here.
I'm a positive person, Pheqes, so I like to pick people who are moving forward as opposed to people who are being eliminated. So ultimately, I think that my pick is going to be George. Calm down, man. Ultimately, yeah, I have to agree. I don't think there's really much of a way that UBC and RMU don't move on. And I'm such a copycat, but I do like NC State as well. The great state of North Carolina has given us.
When I'm right, man. Just say it.
It's given us a great league team this year. I think that's fun to watch. I think Carnegie Mellon kind of comes in as sort of the fourth seed there, and I think it's because they need to get more proactive overall in their game and play a little bit less passively, and go out there and go get it. Go get it. Play to your skill level. So I think ultimately Illinois is my team to drop again. I also add the disclaimer that without having seen a whole lot from Illinois, it's tough for me to pick, but I'm gonna pick against them for now, unfortunately.
And George, same thing.
Yeah, first of all, we'll find this out tomorrow. Wildcard begins tomorrow, and we'll run through Sunday, the April 1st and 2nd. This is the round robin stage. And then next weekend, April 8th through 9th, there will be the bracket stage, I guess you could say, or the best ofs. I just have to agree. It's to a point where NC State's proven themselves. That bot lane and Shadow Visions, that's just it's incredible, And then I haven't seen much of Illinois, and I believe Carnegie Mellon with Yasui will be able to just pursue forward. Now, as you were saying, Pheqes, with the seeds being placed, who plays who via record, I think it'll line up with UBC RMU. The winner of that game goes 4-0, loser goes 3-1. So that'll put them in two separate ones. Whereas NC State, Carnegie Mellon, I feel like NC State will beat out Carnegie Mellon in the round robin. But the matchup to watch there, Yasui versus Shadow Visions. Who wins that, And that'll just decide. I think we'll see NC State play Carnegie Mellon twice. Once in round robin and once bring it into the final round of the wild card.
Fair enough. And this weekend's going to be exciting. So we'll pay attention to that one. And of course, you can always keep up with that sort of action. We're going to be reporting on it, at least at my Twitter. I know that PHEQES, CSL LOL should also be reported on that as well, as we still are very interested in what happens in the ULoL Campus Series, even though our time is done with it, which is why I'm a little more vocal on my opinions now, and it is kind of nice. But at the same time, I do wish I could cast those games maybe another time for another year. You guys want to give a shout out to your Twitters real quick? Are you going to be tweeting about it or anything like that, or tweeting about information? George, I know you do plug your articles. I retweet them. CSL LOL retweets them as well. You guys want to give out your Twitters as well? Sorry,
Matt. But the guy right there in the white, best editor NA, got to go with him. He's the man behind the scenes for the articles that I put out. But yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at GCrook. I think it's 2 underscores in my Twitter handle. I actually don't know.
Confirm it is 2.
2 confirmed? All right, it's 2 confirmed. Well, it's GCROOK __. You'll see a picture of me in a Cloud9 hat, and that's how you know it's me. So you can follow me along. I will be keeping up with the wild card as well, because I'm very curious to see who makes it Los Angeles.
Yeah. Oh, I saw Matt shaking his head whenever you said Cloud9. I don't care who you are right now. Joe Montana has invested into Cloud9, which means I'm a fan by proxy of love.
I was meaning to start an argument about LCS. I was just giving the people clarification.
This is an argument about LCS. This is my love of Joe Montana. Actually, I love Steve Young more, but that's because I was born in the I was born in the 80s, but I grew up through the 90s watching Steve Young and Jerry Rice.
Yeah, such a shame, George, that you missed that time.
I'm only 18. Come on.
Matt, do you want to give a shout out to your Twitter?
Yeah, sure. You can follow me at my awful Korean pun, EHyungNim. It's yeah. Wage is not a letter. EHyungNim on Twitter. I'm an editor. I'm kind of all over the place right now, working on my magical master's thesis. But yeah, I will be around to spout an unsolicited opinion every once in a while, should it be desired.
So with that being said, we are going to go into the Midwest Campus Clash. That is also going to be part of this one. And the main reason is because a lot of the ULoL Campus Series teams are in there. In fact, all of them are. So, or not all of them, but all the ones that are in Midwest. 5 of them, really?
Well, okay, five ULoL Campus Series, CSL related, 3 Big Ten related.
Yeah, the Big Ten. The whole series, and since they're competing for the end goal, I consider it all the same. But yeah, you were right.
They are going for the
Yeah. You're being technically right there. 5 ULoL Campus Series from the 4 regions, and then the Big Ten Series has 3 of them.
Would it be all 4 regions since it's just 5 teams from the North?
I made that mistake earlier. It's just the Midwest, isn't it? And that's why we're talking about the North.
Midwest Campus Clash, not.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, they're still from the regions that were represented by 4. I don't care. Anyway. So yeah, man. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and go through those names here, and I'll do this so I have the opportunity to say KU properly. Columbia College, Columbia College, Maryville University, and by the way, I'm reading from the brackets, so I might as well just say who's versing who. And you can actually check this out at MidwestCampusClash.com. The brackets are there. But starting from the left side,
this is Group A that you will be starting on, by the way.
Thank you very much. Columbia College will be taking on Maryville University. Ohio, which, by the way, Columbia College took on Robert Morris University in the ULoL Campus Series, so I'm excited to see this one. Ohio State University, my love's taking on the University of Illinois, so we can really get an idea of what's gonna, some retribution, but we'll talk about that another time. On the other side, the B side, not the B teams, just the B side of the bracket.
Just Group B.
Please, not the B teams.
Just Group B. University of Michigan taking on Grand Valley State University, which you may have remembered that Grand Valley State University did take a win off of Robert Morris University and kind of shocked the qualifiers there. So excited to see that one. University of Kansas versus Robert Morris University. So those actually flip-flop. University of Kansas took on Maryville University in the ULoL Campus Series, and Robert Morris took on Columbia College. So we're going to see those flip-flop and just get a different alternate timeline of what could have happened one time if the seeds were a little bit different. So those are the group the Group A and the Group B teams right now. And Matt, do you have anything to add to that one, to say about any of the teams right now? There's a lot to talk about.
I'm honestly really hyped for this.
Me too.
There's 2 big things that we're getting to see here. Number one is we get a huge mix-up of sort of the North regionals, and I think that's always exciting to see, because you always wonder, is this team statistically better than this one because they had an easier road or what have you? How has Columbia College taken a lot of the lessons that they learned playing against RMU and applied them moving forward? And the second storyline is we get to see the Big Ten kind of play against the big boys here. We get to see a lot of that sort of that vintage Big Ten scrappiness possibly on display.
See some intermingling.
Yes, intermingling. And we get to see University of Michigan on display, which I think will be fun, because they were the class of the Big Ten before they got upset by
who?
Rivals. But I don't know, some team that wears like red and.
I hope I get to see them at least in the
by the Fighting
Campus.
Urban Myers. Is that their name?
Urban Myers. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's going to be a lot of fun, and you guys should definitely tune in for that. Catch it coming your way.
Yeah, and of course that will be next weekend. It starts, I believe, on the next Saturday, a week from tomorrow. So that's going to be really exciting. April 8th are the actual finals, and that starts on Saturday. The CSL will be there. And of course, there's other activities going on. We're actually having our Madden competition there as well.
And finals will be there, as well as Giant Pong, from what I've been informed.
Yeah, I actually played that the other day. I played a Pong version on the website, and I lost to the novice. The novice thing because like they don't make games now like they used to, and I'm not used to that. I don't know. I don't know.
Does anyone else find it ironic that like Pong is an old school game?
Yeah, it's really hard to play. George, what are your opinions on the Midwest Campus Clash right now?
I love the Midwest Campus Clash because it's taking the top 4 seeds of the North Regional, which, we heavily focused in on in the past, saying these 4 teams right here, some of the best teams in Collegiate League. It's safe to say we can put these 4 teams in the top 10 for Collegiate League of Legends teams. And then you also have Grand Valley State. We can't put them down because they made a fantastic run. They have a team. They've shown they've taken a game off of Robert Morris. And now they're facing, even though it wasn't an official best of the Big Ten, University of Michigan's still the name of the Big Ten. So I think it's a good start for Grand Valley State to show, how good are they? Are they a team in the North so that we should be watching next year? Because I feel like they are. They have a good run. They have very good players. And I think this would be a good showcase for them if they can get into a team like Robert Morris again or the University of Kansas, because the way it works out is Group A and Group B, the top 2 teams from each group will move on to a semifinal, and it's a double elimination per group. So you see a mix-up of teams, who makes it out, who doesn't. And then you'll have the winner of Group A, the team that goes 2-0, face the runner-up of Group B, the team that goes 2-1, and vice versa for the other semifinal, leading up to the grand final. And it also helps us with Los Angeles. Maryville and Robert Morris are here. Illinois is here. These are wildcard teams and a finalist. So this is potentially 3 of the 8 seeds that we'll see at the college championships. How will they fare? How will Columbia College and University of Kansas, 2 of the new kids on the block, they want revenge. Like it's, University of Kansas, they tasted victory against Maryville. That game 2, they had it. They want it back. And I feel like the way their team plays, they could. Yeah, I'm still pulling for the Jayhawks. I picked them to go and win it all. And I wasn't doing that just out of funniness and trolliness. I have a lot of respect for their team, the way they practice, the way their whole team's in Challenger. Even it is flex, but that's shows team camaraderie right there. And so Midwest Campus Clash will be a phenomenal event to display some class League of Legends.
No, I definitely agree with that. It's going to be an exciting time. And again, that's happening a week from tomorrow, April 8th in Columbia, Missouri. So if you're around that area, go check it out. If not, you can always keep up with us on Twitter. I believe we're going to also be streaming that as well. And twitch.tv/CS C Star League, where you pretty much see seeing the ULoL Campus Series ad for the entire season. So that's going to be very exciting.
And if you're there, you're also there, 2 of the 3 people in this broadcast right now will be there. Sorry to one, it's me. But the thesis calls, maybe there'll be a special guest appearance. Who knows? A man in the back, a voice from the skies come.
Maybe somebody who's a better streamer than I am. So I asked him,
Probably.
I don't want to stream, so somebody else does it for me.
I mean,
Thank you, Dan.
yeah, thank you. But yeah, so Pheqes and myself will be up there. If you see us, come say hi. Matt will be in our thoughts, and if anything happens, no, you're not dead. You're not. Yeah, maybe for a weekend, but definitely come say hi. I put out on my Twitter, if anyone brings me a mascot head of their school, I will proudly wear it, because I mean, who doesn't want to see an 18-year-old kid, skinny college student, walk around with a Jayhawk on his head? That will be hilarious, and I would love it.
It's not something that popped into my mind, but if you do it, I won't look away.
Yeah, a little bit of Lee Corso coming in. Gotta
work on the accent though, and the phrasing. Not so fast, my friend.
All right, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Ooh.
Not
All right.
so fast.
So
I'm the cream of the crop.
we're gonna rise to the top. I could quote Macho Man all night. So yeah, we're actually going to wrap this one up here. Do of course want to give a shout out to Azus Band Gaming, Twitch.tv. Thank you for sponsoring us, and have a few. Yeah. We'll get to
I'm
that.
using one now.
We'll get to that. Need to give a couple of shout outs though. The playoffs are currently going on for StarCraft 2, Counter-Strike Go, a global offensive. A lot of people call that CSGO, which that's what it's called. And Dota 2. Shut up, Matt. I don't know why I said that all out loud. I never call it that. I always say CSGO. Regardless, playoffs are going on for StarCraft 2, CSGO, and Dota 2. There's also Drop Zone Top 4 going on this Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Check that out. You can also keep up with that on our Twitter, twitter.com/CStarLeague. They will be posting updates about that. Drop Zone's a new game. It looks fun. I personally haven't got to try it, but I'm going to be watching that stream. It's going to be entertaining. Again, that is the top 4 this Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Vainglory is actually about to start. It starts in a little over a week, I believe, about a week.
Registration is April 2nd, I believe. That's when registration ends for teams that want to sign up for the league.
Very good. And of course, you can, again, just pay attention to our Twitter, CStarLeague. You can check that out as well. Of course, we post updates about that all the time. And in a couple months, on May 12th through the 14th, the Toronto finals will be happening. The CSL sponsored, hosted, I should say, Toronto finals, May 12th through the 14th.
And that will be for Dota 2, StarCraft 2, and CSGO, as well as there'll be the League of Legends Canadian Invitational.
Yeah,
that will be going on.
Yeah, we're having an invitational. I believe it's just strictly for Canadian teams. I don't know if that's. I think actually that was in the article. It is for Canadian teams. So that's
the Scotiabank Theater in Toronto.
Yeah. And as we have seen, we've talked about at least 3 Canadian teams tonight. There is plenty of competition there. So that's going to be exciting no matter what.
Never forget Vanier.
Vanier, okay, they made it pretty farther than we thought they would. We kind of joked about it in the bracketology, but they made it further than we thought.
I was full of crazy talk.
Nah, they're a great group of guys. I love them all. I got to talk with them. Phenomenal group, and they're looking like they're hungry. They're ready to rise to the top for Canadian League of Legends, and I can't wait to watch them next year.
Yeah. We are still hiring a social media manager. You can go to cstarleague.com for more information on that. I already talked about the Midwest Campus Clash. Of course, that's going to be a week from tomorrow, April 8th. We still are doing we're partnering with Twitch, of course, and Twitch is broadening the collegiate community. You can go check out all things collegiate at twitch.tv/communities/collegiate, or follow them on Twitter at Twitch Student. That's actually a really cool thing that they're doing. It keeps it's a central hub for collegiate athletes on Twitter. It's really cool. Go check them out. Not on Twitter, on Twitch. Go check them out either way. It's really cool. Asus is also having a contest. It's actually for the laptop. George, you're using one of those laptops, correct? Or at least an Asus laptop?
I love it. I came in as a mechanical engineering student at university, and I was so happy to have an Asus or an Asus laptop because it was so versatile. I could have all my engineering programs on it and still run League of Legends, a highly rated MOBA game, Overwatch, games that demand a lot of attention and streaming, but still have those programs up. Phenomenal laptop, and it's a 2-in-1, so I can make it a tablet or a laptop for personal needs. I would highly recommend it for anyone that would like it. They do more than laptops as well. Peripherals, I believe. They have laptops, PCs.
Motherboards, routers,
motherboards.
Graphics cards. I actually have 2 of their graphics cards in my computer right now. They're amazing. They make almost everything you could use for gaming, for any sort of electronic equipment. It's really great.
It's made college so much easier with the laptop.
And speaking of the laptop, it is a GL502 is what we are using as a prize here. And the way you enter into that prize is submit a video that showcases either your collegiate gaming club or awesome gameplay footage of yourself or one of your club's best players. You can send that video to admin@cstarleague.com with the subject title ROG submission. Make sure to give us the actual video file, though. Don't send us a link to YouTube. Actually, make sure it's the raw file. We can use it for the contest that way. And the You can submit the videos all the way up until April 10th. So the weekend after Midwest Campus Clash.
I believe that's the Monday after the conclusion of Midwest Campus Clash.
Yeah, it is. So you maybe can get some footage from there, especially if you're from Columbia College, because that's where it's being hosted at, or held at. So that should be very exciting. Like I said, fantastic laptops. George has great experience with them. And that is going to be it for us tonight. Again, enjoy the rest of the ULoL Campus Series. I know I'm going to. On behalf of Matt, George, CSL, Dan, the streamer, thank you again, Dan, and everyone else, thank you for watching, and have a great night.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.